Hey folks, Dave here, and I really would prefer to be talking about knives right now. Though we will be getting back to that in just a few minutes, so please do be patient. This past Monday night, I watched a few minutes of a stream being put on by a hugely popular prepper survivalist channel that I've enjoyed in the past and you likely have as well. However, I didn't really listen to much of what they were saying in the stream because I was too distracted by the comments flooding in. Multiple people were spamming phrases like Kung Flu and various baseless COVID conspiracies. Some demanded retaliatory police restrictions on American citizens of Asian descent. Several commenters were calling for direct violence and military action against the nation of China. And there was no pushback. Hundreds of people watched as many dozens shouted horrid bile and racism and xenophobia and senseless hatred and angry nationalism, and no one spoke against it. The next day, a terrorist, who unfortunately shares the name of one of my favorite soccer players, acted on similar beliefs. I don't know his story, and frankly I do not care. I'm sure I'll hear about it at some point, but I do have some guesses. There has been a massive increase in hate crimes in the last few years, and the perpetrators are often radicalized by the online communities they inhabit. As a YouTube channel havers, it is my responsibility to not let that happen. I want my channel to be a place where anyone is welcome and all can feel at home. Except bigots and fascists, y'all can get fucked. Of course, this isn't really a problem here at DLK because most of my subs are just me with various sock puppet accounts. Moving on to how this affects the knife world, I would ask that we are more precise with our word choice. Made in China has obvious cultural disparities attached to it, and not for bad reason. However, when you're talking about a Chinese crap knife, it usually isn't for the fact that it was produced overseas. That's usually not what you're contending with. The issues you're seeing in the cheap knife are bad QC, bad materials, cloning, etc. While a knife guy might understand what you mean by, well, of course it's garbage, it was made in China. Not everyone does, and the language used matters. That $10 Amazon knife probably was made by somebody with terrible working conditions in China, but it was also packaged and shipped by somebody at Amazon with terrible working conditions. It's not the China aspect that you're angry at there. Obviously, you have every right to your preferences. If you prefer American-made knives, good for you. That's not something I usually mention in my reviews because it's not a specific part of my preferences. Nick Shabazz often says something to the effect of course I root for my home team, but quality is a question of effort rather than geography. And I think that's a really great approach to this issue. It is always worth taking an extra few seconds to be precise in your diction, especially if it means doing your small part, doing my small part, to push back against the stain of bigotry that has always been here. A coworker once told me with a straight face that racism is dead. This man was wrong, of course, but he wasn't stupid or irrational. He was just willfully apathetic because our society's racism doesn't, has never, and will never negatively affect him. The same way that it doesn't, has never, and will never personally affect me. This may feel like a strange video for a primarily knife-based channel to release, but at the core of it, I am just a guy who does not want life on this rock to get worse. It will, obviously, but I don't want it to. Climate change and deforestation will ensure that we will be in this exact plagued situation again, probably not far from now, And what we need is to learn and grow and fight together. Demonizing a nation because you can't tell the difference between the people and the government doesn't help anybody. Demonizing a nation because you didn't take a moment to explain the blade wobble and the messed up grind lines also doesn't help anybody. Some great knives come out of China, some terrible knives come out of the US, and that's okay. What isn't okay is using lazy and nationalistic catch-all terms or building a community full of people who think you agree with their violent and dehumanizing beliefs. Also, he seems to have been a sexually repressed fundamentalist, which is one of the worst things you can be. Please, 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 do not be a sexually repressed fundamentalist. Now, this has been way too serious, so here's something beautifully awful to help us close out. My simple hope is that each of us will continue to do what we can to help people and to build communities that help people. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or suggestions, let me know down below. And other than that, have a great day.